So there's a variety ranging from, banks, SocGen, for example, that are interested in issuing stablecoins on the XRP Ledger, to asset managers that are participating with some of the tokenization platforms. There's been, Aberdeen has issued certain money market funds through Archax, which is a tokenization provider on the XRP Ledger. So
This episode is brought to you by BitGo, which is a top-tier crypto custodian that has been in the industry since 2013. It's headed up by Mike Belshew, who's a Web 1.0 and 2.0 legend. BitGo provides incredible services in addition to custody. They allow you to manage your tokens, get all types of liquidity, and much more. And some of the companies that use BitGo include Bitstamp Exchange, SWE, the token project, Pantera Capital, that's Dan Moorhead, as well as 21 Shares, which issues Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. Some of the great services that BitGo provides includes wallet services, which is secure, trusted, scalable wallet solutions. Prime services, which allows you to get seamless access to liquidity and capital. It also allows you to list, manage, and grow your ecosystem. And they have what's called the Go Network, which is a secure real-time global settlement. Recently, BitGo launched a retail platform that allows you to trade, stake, and of course, custody your crypto assets. And this is a great solution because it provides you with top tier crypto security, and security is, of course, a big factor in investing in crypto. And BitGo is offering an incredible incentive as they launch this platform where you can get a chance to win Bitcoin. They're giving away at least one Bitcoin every quarter. So if you sign up and have funds on the platform through the last day of each quarter, starting December 31st, 2024, you can be eligible to win some free Bitcoin here. So if you'd like to learn more about BitGo, go to bitgo.com. Link will be in the description. Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast. I'm your host, Tony Edward, and joining me today is Jasmine Cooper, who's head of product at RippleX. Jazzy, great to have you on.
thanks for having me, Tony. Excited to chat with you.
Yeah, Jazzy, thank you for taking the time to do this. Lots going on with the XRP Ledger, and recently Ripple released a report titled Institutional DeFi on the XRP Ledger, What's Live and What's Next. So certainly the meat and potatoes of our conversation is going to be around this, but I always like to kick it off with, folks' background and how they got into crypto. So tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, and what's your professional background.
Sure, yeah. So I'm originally from Connecticut, but I've kind of bounced around the US, from California, Texas, Colorado. And yeah, I've been working in the fintech space for a long time. This started primarily with my first company I started, which was a consumer financial health application intended to help young professionals improve their financial situation. From there, I ended up pausing that venture and moving into an opportunity within product in the mortgage technology space, where I got a good understanding of the back ends of how mortgage servicers, lenders operate, and really got a sense of some of the limitations and boundaries within traditional finance. And so that really set me up well to shift over to Ripple, where I started working professionally in the blockchain and crypto space, and really being firsthand with now institutional DeFi and fixing some of those problems that I saw in the past couple of roles.
Oh, for sure. And what was your first encounter with Bitcoin or crypto, and what was your aha moment?
Yeah, I think that was back in, a little bit later than some others, but maybe 2016, 2017, when smart contracts, Ethereum smart contracts just started to become popular. Bitcoin as a token and token trading was never really the most interesting aspect of crypto to me. To me, it was more so the underlying blockchain and smart contracts that could power entire industries in a decentralized way. So learning about Ethereum smart contracts, I think one of the earliest examples people gave was around delivering mail and certifying when packages were being delivered, and that stood out as especially interesting to remove some of the inefficiencies, trust layers, and cost structures that exist in a centralized way of doing things.
Hmm. Now, you mentioned you worked in the real estate or mortgage industry, right? I did as well. I was a loan processor at a mortgage broker many moons ago. Um, and now you have, of course, companies trying to tokenize real estate, but also improve the real estate process. with smart contract technology and blockchains. What are your thoughts on that? And it may cut out a lot of fees, a lot of middlemen, and in addition to the real estate market and mortgage industry, other industries are going to be changed as well. But it seems like, real estate is going to be a big one because we all need housing, we all need shelter.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, real estate tokenization hasn't been a use case I've personally spent too much time on. I do see the opportunity there from a crowdfunding perspective. It can be tricky in terms of managing consumer protection and all of that with giving access to various real estate investment opportunities. So yeah, I think it's interesting from an access standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint. But where I really get excited about, on-chain, real world assets, for example, is when it comes to, a lot of money movement, like with collateral use cases and, global payments and things like that. I think that's where blockchain can really shine. But, real estate's also, definitely interesting and if I were to guess it's going to increase in uptake over the next 5, 10 years.
Oh, for sure. Now tell us a bit about RippleX. For those who may not know, we know of Ripple, the company, but what does RippleX specifically do?
Yeah, good question. So RippleX is a distinct business unit within Ripple that focuses on the XRP Ledger, the public layer one blockchain. So we participate with the XRPL in a number of different ways. My team, the product team, contributes to the core features and capabilities. So we'll design alongside the community, implement, propose new feature amendments for the XRP Ledger. It works a little bit differently in that it's not smart contract based, so a lot of the new features are at the core blockchain level. Some other teams within RippleX focus on developer enablement. That can be either through programs like accelerators, incubators, grants, as well as through technical tooling. So client libraries, explorers, and a variety of different tools that can help the ecosystem of dApp developers build and launch their products. So that's really the focus on RippleX. We stand alongside other businesses within Ripple, that focus on other products such as RLUSD, custody, and payments, for example.
Mm. Now, there's been a lot happening on the XRP Ledger, a lot of exciting news and developments. But referencing the recent report that was put out about institutional DeFi and the XRP Ledger, tell us about that. What's on the roadmap here, and what are you guys trying to achieve?
Yeah, yeah, good question. Ripple and RippleX are a single contributor to the XRP Ledger. So I don't view this as the XRP Ledger's roadmap, but rather, Ripple's contributions and our view of, how we would like to see some of the use cases on the XRP Ledger grow and expand. I think we're not the only ones in the industry that are seeing the big uptake this year and last year by institutions. And now that's accelerated even further by, the current regulatory environment that's starting to really look deeply at digital assets and how they can improve industries, as well as the current administration in the US that's now, more crypto friendly than past administrations have been. So there's a lot of tailwinds that we see now, and we think it's the right time to really double down and do what Ripple has really been focused on historically, which is providing blockchain-based building blocks for financial institutions to bring their businesses or part of their businesses onto the blockchain and unlock efficiencies, cost reductions, et cetera, by leveraging the core competencies of blockchain. So that's kind of what we're looking at a high level, and happy to dive into specific examples of that as you're interested.
Yeah, sure. How about tokenization? Because I saw just the other day RWA.XYZ, I think that's what it's called, integrated XRP Ledger, where we can see the active developments that are happening on the XRP Ledger for tokenized assets. What is your vision there, and how are you trying to attract institutions to tokenize on the XRP Ledger?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good starting place. So tokenization, is kind of the beginning of the life cycle for any sort of on-chain finance. So if you want to do stablecoin payments, you first need stablecoins. If you want to do real estate investment diversification, you first need an on-chain real estate token or something along those lines. So tokenization is really the beginning of everything when it comes to RWA and institutional DeFi. And so we're really just trying to increase the utility and lower barriers to entry for institutions. So one proposal we put out recently is called multi-purpose tokens. You can think of that along the lines of a semi-fungible token. And that standard allows for developers and token issuers to attach metadata directly to the token object on chain versus the traditional or legacy fungible token on the XRP Ledger, which we call tokens or IOUs, is more of a relational object. So, I owe you $1, you've given me one token. So by allowing a standalone object, this is better for, say a bond where you want to store the terms and the duration, the interest rate, all, on that on-chain object. So we're really trying to look at these use cases and make sure we have the building blocks and the standards to best support them and give, a best-in-class experience when they bring TradFi onto blockchain.
Follow-up question on the multi-purpose token, just to make sure I wrap my head around it, and also for the audience. So we know of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and then you have fungible tokens. So would these tokens be? It's kind of, how should I put it? It's a hybrid. It has the ability to do certain things, but then be dynamic and become fungible. How does that work?
Yeah, exactly. So you can issue a set of them and they're basically interchangeable between one another. If you had to compare, in practicality, they'll operate more like a fungible token than a non-fungible token. So I think it's a little bit more close to that. You see some standards along those lines in Ethereum, like I think 1155 is a similar instance. But the core of MPTs is really about the attachment of that metadata as well as the scalability of the asset. So, another thing that we're keeping in mind as we build new features and capabilities is the core competencies that exist today and not sacrificing any of those. So scalability, performance, right now transactions are still costing a fraction of a penny, 3 to 4 second block times. We don't want to sacrifice any of that. So MPTs are also highly, highly scalable, which is another benefit for my eyes.
Interesting. I love it. I mean, it's amazing of the new iterations or ideas and utility that's, coming as we move later into these adoption cycle. And it's pretty cool. Like I wouldn't have thought of a multi-purpose token, so that's really cool. You mentioned Ethereum, EVM sidechain. Tell us about this and how it will work with the XRP ledger.
Yeah. So the EVM sidechain is just that. It's a sidechain. It's a standalone chain. It's not a layer two from the XRP Ledger. Axelar will serve as the bridge between XRPL mainnet and the EVM sidechain. So that will allow for the bridging over of the native asset, which will be XRP. So wrapped XRP by Axelar will serve as the native asset, and it's a Cosmos-based chain. So there's IBC built into it. It also has the Evmos module as well to allow for EVM smart contract compatibility, which is kind of the core use case of it. And yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it gives developers familiar environment to experiment, test, and innovate in a way that XRPL mainnet might not. There's a limited set of programmability, customizability of some of the primitives on mainnet, and while I believe that those are best suited for certain use cases like payments, trading, lending, collateral for institutional DeFi. There's still that long tail of, crypto native use cases or, the leading edge of innovation use cases where XRPL mainnet might not be the best place. So EVM sidechain is a good alternative for that.
Got it. So you mentioned that could be like a testing ground. So, and correct me if I'm wrong here, if my thought process is right here. Um, it enables some smart contract features I can use as a testing ground, but I can also build something that can then be moved over to the XRP mainnet, XRP Ledger mainnet.
Yeah, definitely. So fully interoperable from an asset standpoint. If you issue some sort of token or real world asset on the EVM sidechain, you can bridge that via XLR to XRPL mainnet and also leverage the decentralized exchange or other protocols that you wish to use on XRPL mainnet.
Ah, okay, got it, got it. Now with the EVM sidechain, I've been seeing a lot of questions. I posted I will be interviewing you today, and people are asking me to ask you about. Uh, Tell us about the private ledgers and how that works with the XRP ledger and the sidechains. Is this EVM sidechain different from a private sidechain?
Yeah, so with XRP Ledger, there's the ability to create custom sidechains if you wish. And these are just like Ethereum, the EVM sidechain, it is fully distinct from the XRP Ledger. And with that, you can configure the settings as you wish. So, if you wanted to create a private permissioned sidechain for the XRP ledger, you're definitely free to do that. You can use the RippleD code base as a starting point, create a new sidechain, and then, you know, our design decision was to use XLR as a bridge and use XRP as the native asset. You can make that same choice, or you can kind of build as you wish. It's up to the developer. So I know this is a model that was used in the past for projects like CBDCs, where maybe you want a more permissioned environment or more controlled environment of who can use the chain. But it is entirely distinct from public XRPL mainnet.
Got it. So if I'm a major financial institution and I don't want every random Joe Schmo knowing what I'm doing necessarily because I have proprietary information or customer data, whatever it is, I want to use that private side chain. And I think I know a lot of people are going to have the question of, are any of those transactions, while we may not know what's happening, are they counted towards the XRP mainnet or not? It's completely separate.
No, they're completely separate blockchains, not counted in any part of XRPL mainnet consensus or anything like that. They're distinct chains that allow for bridging, just like any other blockchain. But to your point there on privacy, this is something we're early stage on, but we do have a research and development team that's doing some great work into zero knowledge and really looking into how can we allow some degree of privacy optionality within XRPL mainnet itself, so that long term, large institutions won't have to operate on a standalone, distinct blockchain. So that's something that longer term, I'm very excited about as well.
Yeah, to your point, a lot of chains are exploring ZK, and many of them are building like private subnets and things like that. So this is not exclusive to the XRP ledger, but certainly, I guess, a feature many are exploring because this is what institutions want.
Definitely. And I think it can be done in a way that doesn't necessarily compromise on core values of blockchain. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It could be confined just to the operations of a single entity or a single domain. It's early stage, but I'm excited about this research path.
With this private sidechain, can they use assets like XRP or RLUSD or other assets?
So again, it comes down to what bridge is connected.
Okay.
Right. So, take the EVM sidechain as an example. Any private sidechain that someone creates will operate similarly. We're using Axelar as the bridge. Any asset that can be bridged by Axelar can exist in a wrapped form on the sidechain.
Okay, got it, got it. And then on the other aspect of the XRP ledger or a feature is the AMM, the automated market maker. Tell us about that and how that's been going.
Yeah, good question. So, XRPL DEX was one of the first decentralized exchanges to be built. It was based on order books, which is a little bit of an unusual concept as everyone is used to the automated market maker based DEXs in blockchain. But we wanted to expand the functionality of the order book based DEX in a couple of different ways. They do a great job of providing liquidity for the long tail of tokens when you don't have professional market makers that are supporting that market. They also allow for, a yield opportunity for token holders if they're willing to supply their liquidity for the functionality of the protocol. So AMMs were an interesting concept that we wanted to expand the XRPL DEX with, and we did so in a unique way where the two work in an interconnected fashion. So if you as a user, executed a trade order, the system under the hood will decide, will you get a better price if the AMM solves for that or the order book solves for that. And so I think it's quite neat and useful from a trader perspective in that regard. And it's growing quite well. I don't have the exact, TVL numbers at hand today, but it's grown in ranges of tens of millions quarter over quarter, and there hasn't been any inorganic incentive programs to date. So all of that was just bootstrapped or organic adoption. So I think it's going very well to date.
That's awesome. And I noticed there's been an influx of meme coins on the XRP Ledger. Meme coins are this big movement that started last year, and it's been going on Solana and other blockchains. How are you guys feeling about meme coin issuers on the XRP Ledger?
Yeah. I mean, the beauty of blockchain and open source development is developers, users, they can build and partake in whatever's most interesting to them. And we saw similar types of speculation and hype with art and collectible NFTs, for example, a couple of years ago. And so while it's not something that I or Ripple spend a significant amount of time on. It's a little bit more speculative than the use cases that we focus on. It's a fun and interesting use case that might be a convenient entry point for certain consumers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's like I'm not a big fan of meme coins, and although there are some legacy meme coins which I think are great because they have a brand, a community like Dogecoin and so forth, but um, it's interesting to see all these things happening on the blockchain, and no one could necessarily predicted NFTs, no one could have predicted meme coins, and it's just funny how these things pop up. But humans are gonna find things they like, and they're gonna, like you said, it's open source. They're gonna build what they want. Um, with regards to institutions that are using the XRP Ledger, tell us about the types. You may not be able to give us names, but what are the types? Are banks, hedge funds? What are they?
Yeah, so there's a variety ranging from, banks, SocGen, for example, that are interested in issuing stablecoins on the XRP ledger, to asset managers that are participating with some of the tokenization platforms. There's been, Aberdeen has issued certain money market funds through Archax, which is a tokenization provider on the XRP ledger. So I think there's a wide range from banks to asset managers that are starting to discover the value of tokenization and of XRPL in particular.
Mm. And when they tokenize on the blockchain, are they thinking about? I guess let me reframe this. Are they taking like the crawl, walk, run approach, or they kind of know what they want to do? We're going to tokenize, and then we're going to do some sort of DeFi. Or we're going to do this and that, or are they still trying to figure out getting in a lay of the land?
Yeah, it really depends on the institution. There's also crypto native institutions, which I didn't mention, which are knee deep in crypto, and they have been for several years. So some of the big money money managers in the space. It really depends. It's nice with the Ripple organization. We have a number of different touch points with institutions. So take custody, for example. They'll sit down with large banks that are interested in tokenization. They know a lot about it, but they haven't done it firsthand and are really looking for, a guiding hand to walk them through, their tokenization journey. And that's something that our custody team has been able to really lead the charge with and help some of the bigger legacy financial institutions take their initial steps there. And that's when, other products can be brought into the mix, ranging from RLUSD to the payments product, as well as XRP Ledger, of course. So that definitely helps. And then we have, more crypto forward organizations, some of the money market funds like Aberdeen, for example, they're an asset manager out of the UK, and they have a lot of really smart, forward-thinking ideas around how they can leverage the decentralized exchange with on-chain trading, and how they can really move beyond just bringing the asset on-chain to unlocking utility. With a mind for compliance and regulation and keeping things above bar. So definitely excited about the wide range of institutional use cases.
Oh, for sure. You mentioned RLUSD and a Ripple stablecoin, of course. It is on the XRP Ledger, but also Ethereum. Tell us about how that's been going, and also are there plans to expand to other blockchains?
Yeah, great question. So RLUSD is doing well. Adoption has been rapid. There's support in a variety of different centralized exchanges. Market cap is rapidly growing. So I think we're excited about it. We're working closely with key regulators to ensure that we can maintain standards as the most compliant, stablecoin on the market today. And seeing a lot of demand within, cross-border payments and in particular markets that are looking for US dollar denominated stablecoins that can help unlock, peer-to-peer payments or B2B payments as well. So overall, I think it's been going well. In terms of other chains, that's not my team. I can't necessarily touch on that. I don't know their latest strategy there.
Mm. So could an institution or whatever they may be come and issue their own stablecoin on the XRP Ledger, given that this is open source, but I know Ripple has its own stablecoin there, but technically another company could do the same, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, anyone can issue a stablecoin on the XRP Ledger. You can issue a stablecoin on the XRP Ledger. From a technical standpoint, I think, where things become challenging is, are you meeting DFS and other regulations? How are you managing, the treasury? Is everything backed one-to-one? How reputable are the institutions holding the underlying asset? Is it diversified? So anyone can issue an asset. I think it's the quality that becomes important.
So, Jassy, tell us a bit about the other things that are on your roadmap with the XRP Ledger. What else are you guys working on, and what can we expect in 2025?
Yeah, so there's a couple other features I'm especially excited about. So permission DEX is one of those. So we've built a permissioning mechanism on the XRP Ledger called permission domains. It leverages another proposal that went out this year called credentials. So it basically creates a controlled environment where you can basically have certain requirements to participate. So imagine you only want players that are KYC'd and over a certain age to participate in your protocol. You can use credentials and the permission domains tool to do that. And we're applying that to a couple of different protocols. The permission DEX is one. So this will allow regulated entities like Ripple to bring a portion of their payments volume onto the decentralized exchange and save on some of the costs and fees that exist with centralized exchange. So I think this is a really monumental feature, is in that it allows finally institutions to bring centralized exchange activity onto the decentralized exchange in a compliant way. So that's one that I'm especially excited about. We've already released some of the components of that in a release earlier this month. So that's out for voting through the validator set right now. And then another one I'll just touch on at a high level is the lending protocol. So we're working on a XRPL native lending protocol made up of a couple of different components, but it basically allows for fixed term under collateralized loans in V1 to be originated directly on the XRP ledger. So that kind of rounds out what I see as the kind of core pillars of bringing TradFi onto blockchain, which is support for payments, support for trading, and support for credit. which are clearly, some of the key components that make our TradFi system work today.
So Jazzy, do you think like in 20 years, right? And not that banks are going to disappear, but many of them are going to be using blockchains like the XRP Ledger. But a lot of borrowing and lending will be done this way where we don't necessarily have to walk into our local bank or the big JP Morgans and, apply, but we could go on an app online and through some decentralized finance protocol or application and put out feelers and the lending or the loan or whatever could come from another part of the world because it's all on chain.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely team evolution of traditional finance as opposed to replacement. And, if banks are willing to adopt some of these modern infrastructure components like blockchain and help remove inefficiencies and push on some of those cost savings to the borrower, reduce some of the inaccessibility that exists in our current credit system, then yeah, I think that's a really exciting future.
Mm. I wanted to ask you about the XRP Ledger decentralization, and I want to get updates from you on, the number of validators, nodes, and things like that, and how you guys are pushing to have it be more decentralized. Because I don't know if there's any blockchain that's 100% decentralized. I think everyone is on the path to getting as decentralized as possible. Obviously, the XRP Ledger is decentralized, but I view it as a scale. If I don't know if you agree with me, and tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So XRP Ledger uses a unique consensus mechanism that's a little bit different from what you've seen, with popular chains, including proof of work, proof of stake. It's similar to proof of authority, but not exactly. I think that's an easy way to summarize it, although it misses some of the nuances. But that being said, there's 35 validators in the UNL, which is the approved list of validators that will participate in consensus and also vote on amendments. So all the roadmap items that I've just been talking about, all of those go up for vote, and it's that UNL list that ultimately has to vote for it. So we're looking for 80% or more consensus of the 35 UNL validators held for about 2 weeks. And then the amendment is activated, assuming the position doesn't change. So of those 35 validators, Ripple one runs one of them. So there's a number of other validators run by, key contributors in the community, academic universities as well, and some other institutions within the XRPL community. So that's the kind of UNL validator set in terms of nodes. I don't have the exact number top of mind, but there's, I believe, over 1,000 nodes. I can follow up with exact figures there. But I would consider it, fairly decentralized. There isn't really an entity running multiple validators out of the 35. And so, I know there's a lot of kind of misnomers out there about Ripple operating having a dominant say over the XRP ledger. Ultimately, all of these amendments that we've talked about, as well as consensus, we have the same control as anyone else, which is one out of 35 currently.
So we've seen the success of the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, particularly the Bitcoin ETFs have broken records. Now there's a ton of altcoin ETFs in play. Big issuers are filing for them with the SEC. XRP is getting a lot of them. How do you view these applications and the demand for the XRP asset?
Yeah, I think it's great. 2024 was a banner year for crypto ETFs. The current administration is definitely favorable on that front, so I expect to see more progress to come. From an institutionalization standpoint of crypto assets, having access through an ETF to assets like BTC and Ethereum makes a lot of sense. It really lowers the barrier for everyday people to gain access and gain exposure to what's becoming, one of the key asset classes in the global economy. And so I think it makes a lot of sense. As you've mentioned, we've seen BTC and Ethereum, XRP has filed as well, and there's a lot of traction there. I expect the momentum to continue, and I think it's great for institutions. I think it's great for consumers and investors as well.
Oh, for sure. And then, this year, everyone is kind of expecting crypto legislation to be passed along with stablecoin legislation, given that we've got the most pro-crypto government ever, from the president to Congress to the SEC, the big change that's happened across the board. You and the team at Ripple, excited about these things, and how are you viewing this change in the regime?
I mean, I love innovation ultimately. And I think that some of the Wells notices and some of the actions that were taken previously against certain entities that were operating in the crypto space in a way that was as above bar as they knew how or could, were still hit with negative responses from past administrations. The fact that some entities were afraid to even seek guidance because that could result in negative actions against them. It is not a path towards positive innovation and improvement in our financial system. It's really just staggering growth. And so from that respect, I'm excited to see some of the cases dropped already, and excited to see sort of the barriers that this reduces or removes by giving a clear path to innovation. And hopefully we start to see more and more guidelines around how we should operate within the crypto space in the US in a way that is safe and is above bar. So overall, I'm positive on that front.
For sure. And, are you anticipating, once these things are passed, there's a boom in the US of crypto, versus in the past has been a struggle, but entrepreneurs, innovators can hit the ground running, there may be more capital coming into this asset class in the industry.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, the ETFs are a great pathway for that. And then, alongside regulation, I'm excited to see some of the user experiences, some of the utility for certain DeFi protocols to really improve and increase. And I think that will also bring the next wave of adoption.
All right, Jazzy, I got some wrap-up questions here for you. First, if you could create your own metaverse, what would the theme be?
Yeah. Probably something like an adventure land. I love rock climbing and all sorts of adventure sports. So a place that you can do that in a safe and exciting way.
And rapid fire questions, favorite food?
Food.
Mhm.
This is embarrassing, but mozzarella sticks.
No, I love mozzarella sticks. Favorite musician or band?
Uh, it varies, but right now probably Zach Bryan.
Favorite movie?
Forrest Gump is a classic.
That's a great one. Favorite book?
Um, I really like Let My People Go Surfing by Yvon Chouinard.
Hmm. And when you're not working at Ripple, what are you doing for fun?
Mostly outdoors activities, kiteboarding, rock climbing, all those types of fun things.
Awesome. Jazzy, pleasure chatting with you. Really exciting updates around the XRP Ledger, and I'd love to have you back on, as things progress. But thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tony. It was great chatting with you.